everyone, and welcome back to the World Explorer podcast, the podcast where we create worlds from a random prompt. I am Casey, and as always, I'm joined by Isaac, our prop master, who will be giving us this week's prompt.
Vitamin D.
Is that what's that got to do with the prompt? Why vitamin?
I just had some vitamin D. It was a gummy. It tasted good. Anyway, so the world building prompt for today.
Yeah.
I was thinking back to the door of fears that we had before. Anyway, so I was thinking we could do a world similar to that, where we might have a door or something else, because we've already done a door.
Yeah.
That leads to not your fears, but it's a realm where basically whoever enters it becomes split into the different key personality traits of that person.
So it's like an area where you can examine your core selves.
Yes, essentially.
So like Inside Out, Riley has those core islands. If she was to walk through the door, those core islands would then turn into the person?
Yes.
Okay, first question. Is you yourself become one of those people, or are you still you and you're just meeting those people?
I would say that you yourself are still you, so that we have a main character to follow.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. I think it'd be...
Yeah, otherwise you're getting a bunch of very one-note, bland characters.
I mean, you're still getting that, but there's one who brings them all together.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, but in this, the one-noteness is a feature, not a bug. Like, it's unlike most stories that include one-dimensional bland characters. This one is meant to have characters like that.
Yeah.
Because they are like that by design.
Okay, so I guess we need to establish where this thing is, how it works, all the basics of building a weird door dimension thing. First one, man-made or magic thing that just happened to appear?
I say magic thing that just happened to appear.
Okay, is this thing like in one place where people can make money off of it by selling tickets to this thing, or is this something that moves about, or...
I was thinking, again, similar to the fear door, it moves about and you don't necessarily know where it's going. One thing that I thought of was a train, which trains have been done with this a lot, like the Polar Express or the Infinity Train.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
I'm
if the
trying to
train
think
is...
like what's I won't like when I think of like when you have split personalities. I think the thing a lot of people think of is broken mirrors. So the idea would be that you don't break a mirror and this happens. Like the mirror has to break by itself, and then you get access into this dimension. And it could be any mirror that I guess is big enough for a person to climb through. I don't think it's going to be a handheld mirror or a pocket one. It's got to be like a bathroom mirror, or I have a mirror.
Unless it's one of those mirrors that sucks you in, and like you turn into this these light beams or whatever as you enter.
Well, I think the whole idea is that the shards cut into you, quotation marks, like they cut into your soul as you walk into it. And I don't think you get that effect or the metaphor of it if you get sucked in.
Okay, so most of the time, this is just sort of like visual world building now, where most of the time when you have mirrors that people can go through, they'll have like this sort of rippling effect, like almost like they're made of water when you touch them. Well, this one, I think it would be cool if maybe instead the entire mirror itself looked shattered, and as you walk through it, the shattered pieces of glass start it acts sort of like I don't want to say a film. Like as you're walking into it, it might start like wrapping around you or something. The little shattered pieces.
Have you ever done the prank?
Then once you come out on the other side,
have you ever done the prank where you take saran wrap and you put it in front of a door really smooth, and then they walk through it and it kind of just engulfs them?
No, but I want to.
It's really funny. It's tricky. You have to be. It takes some skill, but it's really funny. We've done it before, so you should, and then you should let me know how it goes. But I would imagine it would be like that. So now you have to do the prank to know how it works. So everyone go and saran wrap someone's door. It takes patience, guys, to make it smooth enough so they don't notice it, but it's worth it. And watch their reaction, and then you can see what I mean when I say that's kind of how it goes. Except I imagine this would be slightly more painful. I mean, your personality is being ripped, duplicated, and then split. That doesn't sound pleasant to me.
Yeah, now, probably not. I mean, it's not really physical pain, though. It's mental. So maybe you just get a splitting headache.
Yeah, like your brain's been splintered into a gazillion pieces, because that's kind of what's happened. Or duplicate. I think you'd only really feel the effects of the duplication, and then they'd split it there. Like, I don't think you'd feel the splitting itself. It's more like the visual representation of it. But
Yeah. Okay, so okay, so we got it. It's on a mirror. So with this act, similar to the door that we originally made, where it just appears at random locations, you'll just be walking through your house, and then one day it's like, is that a new mirror? When did we get that?
well, my
And then
thought
you
was
go and
actually
you poke
that
it.
thought it would actually be your mirrors, but just shattered. So what happens is you have a normal, like, I have a mirror on my door that this would work for, because I could walk through it if I wanted to. And one day I'm just like, I come home from work, I close the door, I turn behind me, and my mirror's just shattered. But like none of the pieces have fallen out, and it looks really weird because normally when it shatters like that, pieces fall on the floor. But it's all intact, but it just shattered. And then you just tempt it and you poke it, and then your hand goes through, and then you're just drawn in, and that's it.
Oh, I like that. Like it forces you in as soon as you touch the glass.
Yeah, and you're more likely to do it if it's your own mirror, I feel, than if some random sharded mirror shows up. You'd be a bit more cautious and concerned of a shattered mirror that's just showed up than your own mirror broken. Because if it's your mirror that's broken, you're like, oh, someone just broke my mirror, let me go pick this up and take care of it. But if one just randomly shows up in your house and you got this weird aura around it, you wouldn't really want to touch it as much. You'd be
Yeah,
more
I think
likely to
that
poke
makes
it with a
sense. Like
stick or
this
something
mirror,
first.
like this mirror or whatever it is, basically disguises itself as one of your mirrors,
Mm.
and then you touch and you get pulled in.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so now what? Yeah, now let's build what exactly this mirror is a little bit more. Is this mirror? Or does this mirror have like a conscience or a mind or the goal, or is it like a mindless thing that is functioning in a certain way to do a certain thing, and it has no morality pulling it one way or the other. It's just a thing that exists.
So I know.
Like a tree has
Yeah.
no morality; it just grows. Like whether it grows into the side of your house or grows beside your house, creates nice shade. It doesn't really matter. It's just doing its thing.
I know when we did the fear door, like that thing had a goal, like a purpose that needed to be fed.
Yes.
This doesn't quite feel like that. This feels like this is a thing existing for the person entering it. It does. I mean, getting to see your own personality types doesn't feel very like evil, and it seems almost like a gift of sorts. Like you go in there and you can suddenly see what's most important to you, very blatantly there. Like these are the things that are most important to you. And this mirror is almost just like giving you a gift to let you see what's really in your heart, and then it spits you out and moves on to the next person to share its gift with.
Okay, so this is sort of turning into an It's a Wonderful Life, which also used the train. I know we moved away from the train, but that's another example of somebody that used the train in their story.
It's a Wonderful Life does not have a train in it.
It does not have a train? I thought it had
I mean,
a
it
train.
has like one train, but that train doesn't do anything.
Oh.
It brings the brother home. I don't think it qualifies.
I'm thinking of the VeggieTales train.
Oh no, no,
VeggieTales
no,
version.
no! I have the VeggieTale one's not that good. Out of their remakes, I think It's a Wonderful Life was not a strong one for them.
I still haven't seen the original It's a Wonderful Life, so...
You just know you could never come to my family around Christmas, or else my father won't let you in until you've seen it, and then you'll have to see it.
No, you invite me to watch it!
Okay, so we like to watch it the week of Christmas at some point. We watch it in color, even though my father prefers it in black and white. I prefer it in color, and I refuse to watch it in black and white. And they want me to join, so we watch it in color. And yeah, it's great, and you'll love it.
Okay.
But that's off topic. Back to personality mirrors. So let's talk about what happens when you're inside. What's the experience like when
Yeah,
you're?
because this is the really big thing. This is the main thing.
Yeah, this is the
Right.
thing all the stories are about. One day
Uh,
you're just chilling, you realize your mirror's broken, you go to fix it. Next thing you know, you're inside it, and you're face to face with how many personality types would you say?
uh, for the sake of the story, I wouldn't think that this is a thing that should really go over 6 or so. You
Yeah,
can maybe make it work with more than that, uh, but if just for the sake of like keeping track of everything, you do not want to make too many of these guys. Like for example, one of the things about Lord of the Rings. Now, while Lord of the Rings is incredibly popular and incredibly well done, and so a lot of people know all of the characters in Lord of the Rings. When I was first reading Lord of the Rings, I could only remember like 2 or 3 of the characters.
mm, I
It
still
took
only
me,
remember 2 or 3 of the characters.
yeah, I still have trouble remembering them all. Like I don't know
Actually, that's
half
a
the
Hobbit.
characters.
I don't have that issue with Lord of the Rings. I have that with the Hobbit though.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the Hobbit
Anyway,
dwarves' names.
like that's the sort of problem you want to exist. Once you don't want to exist, like because once you get too many characters, you can't keep track of who's doing what, where, when, why, and
Yeah.
everything. Uh, Although I think these characters would be a little bit easier to keep track of because they are one note.
Yeah, but
Uh,
you still want to. For one, I think since these are like the big core, you wouldn't have many core like everyone has a lot of smaller personality things, like you like this food type, or you enjoy this type of music, or this is your favorite color. But none of those things are like core you. Like
yeah,
this is what defines you.
for example, I one person might be a big fan of tacos, but that doesn't define them. But
Yeah.
another person might be very passionate about cooking, and so that becomes a core personality trait. Is like that is your passion, that is your career goals to become a professional chef, etc.
Yeah. Now, for funsies, do we want to pick what? I think 5 would honestly be a better number. When you think of personalities, I think 5's like a big number for that. You have like
Yeah,
the star thingy maboggy. I don't know what it's called. People do when they're yelling at me for not knowing. But that's a 5. Otherwise, it's like 8. I think is the other big one, and I think 8's too many. So I think 5's a nice.
yeah. I do think that the 8 would be too many. You got
Yeah.
8 plus the main character.
Yeah.
The
So I
5's
think you
probably
get
good.
between 3 and 5 personality. You get at least 3. It might have to
Yeah,
dig for them, but it will find you 3 different personality types.
yeah.
and
Now,
So let's define like what qualifies as a personality type, because there's things such as so we seem to be suggesting things you're passionate about doing qualify. So for me, like reading and writing, like a literature personality would be one, and like a video game personality would be one, because those are 2 things I'm very passionate about doing.
yeah, I think that I think that this could go either way. Whereas like it could be something that you're passionate about, but it could also be maybe somewhat based in your primary emotions, like emotions that you feel strongest. I don't know, because the idea is that this is sort of a look into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
For example, okay, so let's take the writing example. You go and you see yourself as like a writer, and this is like basically the only character trait that this writer you has is that she is a writer. But from that one character trait, there are like many branches that create other character traits. For example, this might be okay, depending on what kind of writer you are. For example, an architect writer would be thinking about everything very logically. Let's have a plan for every little thing that we do, sort of thing. Whereas a discovery writer would be more, I guess, free in the wind. I don't know how to describe it other than that.
Yeah, so I guess what
Um,
you mean is this person who's passionate about, it's not just passionate about this big broad thing. It's passionate about like the things about that you are. So like for a video game one for mine, it would like indie games. like small one-player, easy story-based indie games, and they would like Minecraft. And that would be it,
Okay.
because those are the only games I play. So, like, if you tried to, despite this being like a video game personality, you showed it a shooter game, it would look at you with disgust and hatred and threaten to shoot you in real life for even suggesting such a thing. That they play that.
Yes, like I think it would be great. It's like if the personality traits like that were actually amped up and exaggerated a little bit, because this is leaning a little bit further away from looking into like your true self, because it's basically your true self but
On
amplified.
Yeah.
You know, where now like your true self would not actually go to kill anyone, but maybe this version of you would.
You know, this version kills
maybe
people
there's, like,
in video games all the time, so why not kill someone in real life? Like,
Yeah.
the world's
And
a
another
video
thing I was
game
thinking
now.
was, because this is such a one-note character, maybe because this character is lacking other characteristics, you know, she might not actually have any restraint. Like, restraint might be a characteristic that she is lacking. And the absence of that one characteristic adds in the other characteristics of being destructive and having no forethought or anything like that. Whereas a different part of that person might be the opposite and actually have the forethought. Like, for example, an architect writer.
Yeah. And also, like, I think this makes it a lot more interesting because you have, like, stereotypical, like, the video game personality and the artist personality and the chef personality, and, like, they're stereotypes. But these aren't exactly stereotypes. They're not as one-dimensional as you would think because they embody a lot of yourself. Like, they embody different characteristics of yourself that is reflective around this one thing. So, for example, someone of my who had video games, that was my thing, they would probably be violent, but only towards people I like. Just because that's how I am in video games. I'm not violent to people that, like, if you annoy me or something, I ignore you in a video game. But if I like you, I drive you mad in video games. That's just how it works. So if it would be violent towards people I like. Yeah.
I just thought about something. Like,
It'd be constantly trying to build things.
I just thought about something, like, so one question that I knew we would eventually inevitably get to is, can multiple people enter the mirror, and what happens if that does occur? But if multiple people enter the mirror, and let's say that you were trying to write like a love story between two different characters, and they're seeing like the core personalities and traits of each other, and then what if you had like that one character, that one part of one person that went to yeah, that was okay. So you were saying that you are mean to the people you like. Well, this person, this version of you might really, let's take that example, like really likes this guy and is really mean to this guy.
Oh, it'd be awful to it. Like, in like a trolly type way, like constantly trying to trip them up, or take things, or just snide comments. You guys see my. If any of you guys are unsure what I'm talking about, just watch one of my survival videos on my actual channel. You will know exactly how I interact with people and what I mean by this. And if that's amplified, I can see feelings getting hurt. Because I personally know when to stop and when, like, in different people's levels, because that's another trait I have, which is being very good at reading other people, like, where they fall in things like this, and being able to change my own personality to kind of, like, reflect what different people need and what they want from me. And that's not something this video game person will have anymore. So they just won't stop. They'll just keep on going. Like, I know I can't troll my brother as much in video games because he gets upset really easily about it, and so I don't do it to him that much. And then I have, like, my friend Shanner, who is on the server, and he thinks it's hilarious when I do it, so I do it a lot to him. Constantly. I'm just constantly trolling, because he just finds enjoyment out of it, and it makes him happy, and we laugh about it a lot, and therefore I do it to him a lot. But, you know.
Yeah, this version
won't have that.
Of you would have no restraint.
None.
I do think that would be really interesting to see, like, the different areas of a character that are complete opposite to each other, depending on the circumstance and what this character is passionate about.
I think it'd just be fun to write yourself.
Yeah, you could really do that. with this. You could just like look at yourself and be like, what are my core characteristics? I'm gonna put those, divide them into these different characters, and throw myself into a story.
Yeah, pick
Like
5 characteristics of
normally,
yourself and then see what happens when you separate them, because things happen.
yeah, normally I would recommend against writing yourself into a story, but in this instance, I don't think it would be that bad.
Well,
Like, there's a lot
it
of
also
problems that come from writing yourself into a story.
yeah. Well, it also
Uh,
kind of depends on what your goal is, I guess. If you're writing, I think if you're writing a full blown novel, don't do it. Just don't write yourself in it. But if you're just writing a short story and the purpose of it is self reflection for yourself, and then you want to just share that journey with other people, then go for it. Like, yeah, write yourself into it. That makes perfect sense. But if you're writing like a story to entertain people and like engage them and maybe make some points along the way, probably don't write yourself into it, because then that just leads, it's just awkward. You're putting yourself out there in a way that people don't realize you're putting yourself out there, and then they're going to be harsh and crush you and you'll feel bad. Unlike in a short story where people are like, oh, this is this person, oh, thank you for sharing this journey. You'll get different responses, and some of them you won't want, so just be careful of that.
Also, very often people who write themselves into a stories, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally, turn those characters into Mary Sue's,
Don't do it.
or they will make them very bland and characterless, because what they're doing is they are sending themselves on a journey as they are writing the story, and they don't actually insert themselves into the character. They make the character bland, and then have the story sort of guide the character around, just going around with it on this grand adventure. But
And I
whoever's
think,
reading that,
yeah.
but
Oh, go
whoever's
ahead.
reading that isn't necessarily interested in this story because they're not interested in the character that the story is about. Now, sometimes this can work, where a reader might project themselves onto the bland character. I know that this is a big thing with the Twilight books,
Dante
where
Inferno is a fanfic,
I have not,
basically.
I have not read the Twilight books
Same.
or seen the movies, but I have heard that this is something that they did with the main
Diversion
character.
is also the main character's the author.
Yeah. So okay, I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, that explains it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like whenever you're writing yourself into a story, just be careful.
But I will like this type of story. I feel like you're less likely to fall into that trap, because you have to work on your character like crazy. Because you have to give them 5 core things and see how they interact. And when you have 5 core things, you have to think about like, hey, this person is those 5 core things, and this person better reflect those 5 core things as they're interacting with the 5 core things, or else people are going to call you out as your book being like contradicting to itself and not true.
Yeah, and it just when you're making this story, just be very careful again about putting yourself in there, because once you put yourself in there, I cannot emphasize this enough. Once you put yourself in the story, there's a lot of other pitfalls. The Mary Sue thing is a big one. Even if it's like, and another one is you might accidentally not make these characters flawed enough, like these different personality traits. For example, I might make them all seem too perfect without thinking about it, because I don't want to see the flaws in myself, so I just write the better sides of me. It's like, okay, this core personality is sharing. This core personality is compassion. This core personality is telling jokes that everybody loves.
Yeah, well, I can already say I haven't fallen in that trap. I already said my video game personality would torture people, so
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, I would trust you to write you are one of the people I think would write the story correctly.
Yeah, for self-reflection, because that's what the story is. It's a self-reflection. You're going into this mirror and you're seeing yourself in ways you've never seen yourself before. Maybe we should get back onto that and things. So, like, something fun we could do is we could try to create ourselves in this situation and develop characters based off that and like situations and see how the room. Or the other option is we actually build the room that you end up in and see what that actually looks like. Like, what's this world look like?
I say see what this world looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's a, sort of a big deal.
It
Like,
is.
like once you enter this world, what is around you? Is it nothing? Are you the only person here?
I mean, you got your
Are there?
personalities.
What's it look like in a mirror? Is it like a mirrored version of reality? Like basically everything looks the same as it would in reality, except backwards. Everything's reversed.
I know that's so
Um,
cliche though.
yeah, but I'm just trying to think. What would happen if you were to enter this mirror? What would everything around you look like and appear as?
So the mirror's main focus is to present your personalities and teach you something about yourself. So I feel like the mirror would make the environment you're in very minimalistic. Like they won't want much distractions. They want this person to enter this world and be like, "Here's your personalities. Interact, have fun." By the way, in certain what would be the thing that would get you kicked out? Is it a time limit? Like you've got this amount of time to experience this before the mirror says, "Okay, next."
I think that more what it would be is once you have learned your lesson, whatever that lesson may be about yourself that you need to learn, that is when you exit the mirror.
Okay.
The mirror is waiting for you to learn something. Kind of like this is a strange example, but like Groundhog Day.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, he was the main character was on repeat, living the same day over and over again until he learned to better himself and just be a good person in general. Because he starts off as an awful person, but then who only cares about himself, very selfish. And then by the end of the movie, he's learned to care about those around him, and that is what caused the repeating days to end.
Yeah.
And so I think something like this, like maybe there are a few core. Oh, here's an idea. Maybe it's not necessarily core personality traits that this is linked to, but some of the most problematic personality traits in your life.
Ooh.
And so this person now has to. This isn't even just one character arc at this point. This is multiple character arcs for the same person, where he has to go around and solve these different problems in his life and face these different major character flaws.
So
And by the end, of course, this character's not necessarily Mary Sue, but
he's aware of it. They're aware of what's going on.
yeah, yeah, and once this character has learned about the different flaws and everything, has managed to overcome them, or at least better them, then this person gets released from the mirror.
So I still think it would be cool if it's under still like the guise of like things you like and like good things in your life. So going back to the video game one because it's just a good example. You would your first thought would be, oh, this is the person that represents my love of video games, and then you realize how violent this person is and like how they're interacting with people is very negative and not nice, unkind. And you're realizing, and then you have to identify that within this one aspect of yourself. So it's kind of obvious what the core thing is. Like this person is a baker; they're constantly baking. So you have this chef guy, and as you're getting to know this person, you're realizing that they're very obsessive over cooking, like to the point where they won't talk about anything else. They don't look at it. They won't really even acknowledge you. They're just thinking of recipes and stuff, and it gets annoying. And slowly you realize, oh wait, I'm like that when I cook. I'm obsessive. I kick people out of the kitchen. I'm not nice. I'm so focused on this thing that I'm ignoring everything else that goes around me, and that's a problem. And then voila, one of your personalities is, I don't know, do they dissolve once you realize that, or do they just continue following you around as you discover the
I
others?
would say it fuses itself with you, because maybe what happens. What?
Oh, I was agreeing. Continue.
Okay, because something I was thinking about was once these personalities split from you, maybe you still are aware of them, but they are no longer actually directly connected to you. And what you have to go around picking up these personalities, and then, but the only way to pick them up, for lack of a better word, is to actually learn about them and realize the major flaws that you have, and that causes them to reconnect you. And once you collect them all, then the mirror spits you out.
Yeah, it moves on. So this mirror is just going around making better people.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to take these personality traits, these major flaws, stick them around in various locations, and you have to go around, find them, read into them, actually look deep within yourself and analyze what's going on with these people, and then and then once you've managed to make yourself better with them, it becomes a part of you again, and you can keep moving on. Now, something else, you were talking about the obsessive baking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what if this is a thing that this character gets very obsessive in general, but baking is like one of the areas where it comes out the most.
Yeah.
So that is the area that the mirror shows.
Yeah.
But in general, this person's very obsessive, maybe very controlling over situations. Like maybe it's this person's child wants help with baking, and then is turned away. Then this person says, "No, no, you don't get to help me bake because I need to do everything right. I need to do everything my way and stuff." And maybe at this point, instead of it just being an immediate realization, "Oh, I see what the problem is. I'll fix it," it's, "Oh, I see what the problem is. Okay, I'll let you help out," but then doesn't actually end up reconnecting with this part of them. It's like, well, why didn't it work? Well, because for a few reasons. One could be because you didn't solve the actual problem. Just letting this person help out doesn't help with the problem throughout the whole life. Like, the main problem is obsession over control, not letting somebody cook.
Yeah.
And another thing could be maybe even once this person invites this child to come and cook, is still very controlling over the situation.
I mean, and there's other ways that can be shown, like, for different types of people. Like, say you're a parent, and that's a big part of your personality. So now you have a parent self, but you're watching them interact with the children. And maybe this isn't something you'd actually do, but again, this is the mirror. Everything's heightened and reflected strangely. And you watch as you're just cruel to your kids, as you're trying to get them to be something they're not, or you're trying to overpressurize them, and you're just shown being like I don't know, like I don't, you haven't watched that movie yet, so I'm not going to use that example because that spoils too much. You're just over controlling and overbearing of your children, and you're watching them break, and you're seeing yourself be cruel in ways that you didn't realize you were being. Because sometimes the only way to fix yourself is to actually see yourself.
Yeah. Now, it comes to the question, how do you exactly fix yourself in this world? Like, you go and you see it. Is it upon realization what's going around with this person? Or
I think you have to do something. I think you have to act. Yeah, I think you have to act on it. Like, we're going back to the cooking, like, letting the kid cook, but also, like, actually letting the kid cook. Like, coming out, sitting behind them, showing them how to mix. Like, you actually have to interact with them and be like, this is how, and being kind and doing it nice, like, how you're supposed to do it.
Yes. But I just thought about something, like, because the idea is that these are two separate people. You got your main character, and then you got the character trait that this person is interacting with. Well, what if what you have to do in, like, this cooking instance is actually push that character trait of you aside and like, literally, like, suppress that character trait, and then bring in the child, and anytime, and the character trait will just be there fighting with you, saying, "Hey, don't let this person cook. They're going to ruin everything," and you're just sitting there, basically suppressing the voice in your head. In this part, it's just constantly telling yourself, no, don't do that. And so now, you really are, this is like, literally you telling you to keep on with this character flaw, and you have to actively suppress that character flaw.
Until you get to the point where you've actually taken its place in what's happening, and at that point,
Yes.
you're both one. You've merged again.
Yes.
Except now you're the better self for it, and you've learned a lesson.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be what you do throughout the entire thing. Now, I think that we've done a pretty good job of world building this for the most part, but there's one other thing that I think that we should really go over,
Mm-hmm.
which is the mirror and when somebody enters. This person, once they enter, needs a way of knowing what exactly is going on.
I mean, you
So
see
I think that
yourself.
this, yeah, I mean, I think that this is an instance where maybe the mirror could actually be a character, and it's just sort of maybe this voice, or perhaps maybe it actually does have a physical form, which I imagine it would just be like a human,
Okay,
a
okay.
human like figure,
I've got some
but
symbolism for you. Okay, here. So the mirror comes, and I don't think it's a talking thing. It's the thing that kind of shows you, and it's your guide, and it's like this shattered person. So it looks like just shards everywhere. It looks disfigured and things out of place and stuff. But as it guides you along. It starts becoming you and healing itself. And then when you're done and you've completed everything, not only is yourself now whole, your reflection is whole too, and then you're sent out. And
and
literally,
then your
when you
mirror is
come out,
spared.
it looks like you're just looking at yourself. Like 1 minute you're looking at yourself inside the mirror, and next moment you're just looking at yourself outside the mirror. And it's a smooth transition, and it looks cool in the movie form.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes,
you're repairing both yourself and your reflection.
this is perfect.
Mhm, mhm. I can come up
Okay,
with good ideas.
this story has excellent potential for character and world building, and also just as a quick aesthetic
It
feel
sounds,
for
yeah.
everything. Should
Which,
the world like look normal, except for maybe one slight thing where everything looks like giant pieces of shattered glass,
I don't know.
like
I
or shattered
mean,
reflections?
I feel
Like,
like that could get that. I'm imagining. That's something I like to do when I'm writing a story. I imagine it as like a movie or TV show, and that does not sound very appealing to an audience to watch. Like a lot of
ah,
reflections and things. So what I'm almost thinking is it's like an empty back. It's like the back of a mirror where it's just a plain solid color. So you just have like I don't know. I just always I keep wanting to
okay.
imagine this as very simplistic.
Okay, so how about this? So that it's sort of simplistic, but it still has this cool shattered mirror effect of like what the world actually feeling like it's made out of a mirror, a shattered mirror. Your guide is taking you through the different areas to see your different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it does that is like maybe the entire world around you just starts falling apart and shattering, and then reforms into a different location, a different setting.
Ooh, ooh, that sounds dramatic.
It would be very dramatic and look so cool. And
And also
uh,
freak you out the first time, making you think you did something wrong.
yes,
Because like you merge with the first one, and then suddenly everything just like psh, around you, and you're just like, oh no, I broke something. I did it wrong. I thought that I was doing something right, maybe not. And then that kind of gives you the question as you're like, now you have a second scene and you're still like apprehensive and then confused and kind of now you're almost against changing because you're scared of the shatter, which makes more better conflict for the story and like the story keep going. Like you're because that's the problem I kind of see with this world is it getting repetitive. Like after the third one, you get the idea you're about to see yourself a part of yourself that you need to fix and you need to do something physical and you kind of get the idea. So having like the glass shattered first will make the second one a bit more interesting because you have that apprehensive, and I almost feel like you need something progressively that makes it more interesting for the reader because like what I guess it depends a lot on the order you put these things. Like you put an easy one first and they get like more complicated as you go along. So like number 5 would be the most complicated of it all. Like you take baby steps. Yeah, and I think that's where we're gonna end it for today. It seems like a sudden ending, but there's reasons why we have to end it here. But we now have a mirror dimension where you just have people and where you're put in front of personalities that get more and more complicated as you go through the mirror until you've reunited with your full self and your reflective self, and then you're put out, and then the mirror moves on. And that it's a simple world, but I think it's a pretty good one, and it's got a lot of possibilities for reflection, pun fully intended.
yeah, I think that this would work really well as a story in just a million different ways.
Yeah, I
And this is the kind of story where you could write yourself into it.
which is fun, and I might do that as a writing exercise just for funsies, because I for reflection. Like I think it's just a good, even if you're not a writer, I think it's just a good exercise for people to do to get to know themselves better. But this is where
Yeah.
we're gonna end it. So we will be back next week with another prompt and another world to build, and we'll see you guys then. Bye.
When will my reflection show who I am inside?